We're going to have a go at this image of the Royal Shakespeare Theatre in Stratford for our next painting. There's quite a lot going on there. For a watercolour, what we need to do is see if we can sort of simplify it in drawing and in colour and detail so that it's like a fresh watercolour rather than an exact copy of this photograph. So this is the drawing that I've done from the photograph, nice and simple. With the building, so that's the feature, but what I've done is tried to just look at the basic sort of silhouette of it really, rather than there's lots of little detail parts to it and architecture going on. But I think the job to do here is see if you can get the silhouette right first and look at which surfaces are facing the light and which surfaces are away from the light, and then at the end you would add the detail that you think it needs, not every single bit of detail. So there's a river here, so that's water, obviously, a little bit of an island there, and then the banking. So I think the first job would be to get a nice sky wash on and follow that wash down into the water, because obviously it would reflect. So I've mixed up cobalt blue with a bit of phthalo blue, nice fresh colour, and I'm using this half decent size mop brush, just making sure the brush is loaded first, and then just with some really loose strokes across, just start us off there at the top, and then coming down I'm going to try and create some clouds. So taking the colour off and a bit of water, just clean water onto the brush, just sort of touching underneath there. Don't want it too fussy. Just simplify that bit there. And then I'm going to add a little bit of crimson to that mixture. And then just paint straight through the building. So it's quite warm at the bottom of the sky. So there's more crimson in there. And then I can just go back and just adjust these a little bit, being careful not to drop loads of water in. That's I'll end up with like cauliflowers. I'm just going to pull that down. There we go. And then the building's reflected in the water, so if I grab a little bit of burnt sienna while that's still wet, and just with strokes like vertical strokes like that, just pull that down, and hopefully when a bit more red in there. It'll give us a sort of a reflection. So I'm going back to the sky colour again. Horizontal strokes. and then see if I can get some cloud shapes in there. So I'll paint around that island there. There we go. Right, so I can change brush now and start working on parts of the landscape. So with crimson, yellow ochre, and a tiny bit of blue in it, making a warm colour. Just going to put this land colour on there. So it's like the banking of the river. Nice and loose. Just so I know where I am with everything. Good, and then I'll start putting some trees in. Starting with the trees that are furthest away. So on the photograph, I mean, this is key because on the photograph, all the trees are the same sort of green, and that makes it look quite flat. I think the trick when you're doing the painting is to get the ones that are further away a little bit bluer and give that impression of distance. So if I use sap green with a bit of cobalt in, that should give me a nice bluey green. And just drop those in there. That's dry now, that sky, so that should be okay. And then changing it a little bit, a bit of burnt sienna. Just give some variation there. There we go. And then the trees in this area, they're a bit closer, so sap green, and even add a bit of yellow ochre to it, and just see if we can get those trees looking a bit closer there. So that sort of motion with the brush. There we go. And while it's wet, I could add some blue into it to create a darker green, and that try and get some shape to the tree there. Looking good, that. Just drop a bit more yellow ochre in there actually, just to push that, so I pull that one forward a little bit. Just take some colour off, a little bit of separation there. And And then going back to the sap green with a bit of burnt sienna in, I can bring the trunks down, the tree trunks. Just casting a shadow across. It's quite dark under there. Okay. And then if I have a look at the building, so there's a mixture of like modern parts which are quite blue. So I can just put like a pale blue wash on there. So I'll do all those in one go. And then the rest of the building's like a red brick, so I suppose we could use burnt sienna for that. And just splodge that on. If it mixes together, it's fine, because it's the silhouette we're looking for on this. And there is a tree there, so if I do that, quite yellow, so yellow ochre and sap green. Good. And some more trees there. And then one right in near the foreground there, like that. So with a smaller brush now, so something like that, I'm going to add some shade to the building with ultramarine, crimson and yellow ochre. I'm going to alternate those three to make a shade colour that's tending towards blue and then tending towards crimson as it comes closer to us. Let's start off with this tower. So it's quite dark. I'll just put that on there. and it's sort of blending into that tree. So I'll get a darker green. And then around the bottom of the building, there's quite a lot of detail there. So made the dark quite blue. And then that's the sort of river bank there. And going back to the dark colour again, just put some detail on the side that's facing the light. There we go. Very intricate work this, but I'm trying to make sure we just look at simple shapes rather than too much detail. Good. And so with the same colour, so the crimson yellow ochre and ultramarine, I'll just add some detail along here. There's a few people walking about. A bit too wet, that's not going to do anything, so just soak some of that water up. There's a little bit of orange there, and then going on the left hand side, so look at the distant trees again and just add a little bit more form and shape to these, just to give it a bit more definition there. There we go. just finishing off now in the building, because I'm just aware that it could start getting really fussy if I'm not careful. So just judging what I think I might need. A bit of a walkway there. Get carried away doing this. Might just put a little bit of that orange on the front of the building that's facing the light, just to punch it out a little bit. Just lift that a little bit. Just give it a bit more oomph. That's it. I'll just leave that for now and I'll start concentrating on things that are a bit closer to us. So this tree, I think, yeah, do that. So again, sap green, a bit of burnt sienna. Just being careful. I don't want it, again, don't want this to be fussy either. I've got a bit of yellow ochre in that now. And then with the rigger brush and the dark we've made with the blue, just do enough to suggest that it's a tree there. And then that really dark colour, ultramarine and crimson and yellow ochre. Bit of blue in there somewhere, some fencing or something. There's a tree there that's not got any foliage on, so I've just put the branches in, and then on the tips I'm just gonna just scuff the brush on the paper like that. A little boat there. So you're just using that dark colour all the time, just alternating between a warm dark and a cool dark. bit of colour in it as well. And then we need the reflections in the water using the green again. That's horizontal strokes for the water. That's just casting a shadow onto this little island, that tree. Just connect that up a bit because it was distracting, that it was bugging me from the beginning, that actually. And some more little ripples there in the water. Just using a really dark, so I've got neutral tint with a bit of the phthalo blue in it there. Just see if I can really sort of punch certain little areas out, being careful about distance and in relation to where you were. Just re-emphasising that strength of colour there. Just so that it sort of recedes into the distance there. And then I need to add a little bit of shadow reflection in the water as well for this side of the building. So that would be a bit of green. And just some finishing touches now, I think, really. Bit of texture on there. There's a little like rocky part to it. And then with a tiny bit of gouache, some lighter parts on that dark side of the building there. That's not too much. Just going to repair that island a little bit there because it's all gone a little bit muddy here. I'm just going to take that out with a dry brush, just pull it along. Just make that a bit darker, this shadow part of the tree. I think that one as well there. Just sitting back now, just having a look, seeing it. Obviously, bearing that in mind that we want to keep it simple and there is a point where you need to stop. But I think just soak that up there. I think that'll do it. It's not bad. It's not bad. It's nice and loose anyway. So if you want to have a go at that, and again, I'll put a photo on so that you can see what to work from. Just remember, just keep it nice and loose like a watercolour.